cakes are candy melted, so that part is totally done. I do want to make a point about the running out of the candy melt, so that's totally fine. That was about, I didn't say how much candy melt was there, but for the white, which is pretty much done, there's a little bit left in there, maybe about like 5 ounces. But for these two white cakes, the tall 10-inch and the small, or the tall 8-inch and the small 6-inch, I used about I want to say about 60 ounces of candy melts, maybe a little bit more. There were 2 really big bags. So yeah, just about 60 ounces of the Wilton candy melts for that. And then and that'll vary depending on the amount of lip that you leave on your board. I had quite a bit of lip on the small one, but not as much on the bigger one. So you may not need as many candy melts, but it's better to have more and then, you know, not have to go back out and run to the store and get some more than to not have enough. Okay, as you saw with the slate gray cake, I ran out of candy melts and I just melted more, and it happened to be like the same exact color. But if you are doing this and you want a uniform color on the cake, then you want to make sure that you do more than enough melts, because if you don't, and you have to remelt them, especially if you're mixing colors, then you can end up with one lighter or one darker, which I actually think is really pretty when you put it on your cake. But if you're not going for that like marbleized tie-dye kind of like streaky effect, you want to make sure that all your color is uniform. Same thing with fondant. If you're coloring fondant, you want to do more than enough, because you can never really get that perfect color the second time around. So for this gray one, I used it's about 40 ounces. So somewhere between 30 to 40 ounces of candy melts, okay? Just to give you a rough estimate of what you're gonna need. Okay, so now this is the picture. Now I don't know who the original artist of this is, but it's pretty daggone incredible. I love it. It is Marilyn Monroe, and she, in all her fabulousness, is blowing some bubble gum. So pretty. I love, love, love this picture. So what you want to do is you want to take a printout, and I'm going to put the link below, and you want to go and print this on 2 different sheets of paper, okay? And so this is totaling, my 2 pictures together are totaling 9 inches tall, so it doesn't quite fit on one 8x11 printout sheet, which is why you need to do it on 2. So whether or not you have an edible ink printer, or if you have to get it done somewhere, you want to make sure that you get one part on one sheet and one part on a second sheet, and then we're going to put them together. Now when you get the printout done, you want to go to the link that I provided for this picture, and you want to blow it up. So you want to, you know, measure your cake and see how tall. You may not have a cake that is this tall, but I blew mine up from 100% printout to 130%. And it gave me this size, which is good because it's a little over how tall I need. But you see I have a lot of her like shoulder and neck area in there, so I give myself a little bit of space in case I need to cut it down. And then the bubble is the most amazing part of this whole picture. It's so cute and interesting, and that is why I wanted to bring it out of the picture and make it 3-dimensional. So for that, we are going to make an edible bubble out of gelatin. This is not my original idea. I'll put the link below where I got this. I actually saw it on Pinterest, but it's amazing. It's an amazing tutorial. I have a little bit of like tips and stuff that I learned from doing it, but basically you need a very, very few things. You need some gelatin, and so this is just Knox unflavored gelatin. I suppose you could probably use flavored gelatin, although the tutorial didn't say anything about that, and I didn't try flavored gelatin. But unflavored gelatin smells like barnyard, and I suspect it probably tastes like barnyard. So if somebody is going to be eating, licking, or doing anything with this bubble, you want to make sure that it tastes good. So you can probably even put, if you want to get the unflavored gelatin, you can probably just take like some extract, some kind of like lemon or raspberry or something that matches with the color of the bubble. It would be cute. Actually, really, I'm just all thinking of this on top of my head right now. But it'd be really cute if you took like some bubble gum flavored extract I don't know if that exists, but if it does, or like cotton candy flavored extract, edible extract, and put it into the gelatin. So just in case somebody like wants to put this in their mouth, it tastes pretty yummy. All right. So then you just need in the tutorial it says use a water balloon, but this is just a random latex balloon that I have here. So you want to take a balloon, and I have some Amerimist. Um, the tutorial, the recipe link for this that I gave you says to put in your pearl dust beforehand, and it doesn't say to put in color. I just wanted to put in color myself just to make the bubble pink, but it says to put in a little bit of the pearl dust and just a little tiny bit, but I find that if you put it in beforehand, it doesn't work out as well for me as if I warm this up in the microwave first and then put the color in. Okay, so I'm going to let that sit for a second while I grab my fan, and then I'm going to put it in the microwave. Okay, while we're waiting on this to set up and sponge a little bit, I want to show you something with the balloon. So the balloon in the tutorial calls for you to, if there's like a nipple on the end of the balloon, she used a water balloon, so there would most definitely be a nipple. There actually is a little one here too, and I don't really like the shape of this balloon. Like, it doesn't look very round like a bubblegum bubble. So what you can do is, instead of doing what they say on that tutorial, which is to use duct tape, which I suppose works out okay too, I like to use a rubber band. So you just want to take, so what I did is I just took one end and pushed it together with, of course it wouldn't work the second time, pushed it together with the tied up end, and then you can kind of just twist it, okay, and then you'll get more of a rounded shape. Don't worry about the back part because that's going to be you know, against the cake, so you won't even really be able to see that, but just make sure that you get a nice rounded shape like you want. And also another thing is, you know, don't make the bubble too large because you don't want it to be covering up like her whole face. You want a nose to show, and you want the details of the painting, which is also very beautiful, or the pencil drawing, whatever it is. You want the details of that to show. So when you put a couple layers of the gelatin on the balloon, it's going to be a little bit larger. So you want to make your balloon fairly small. Okay, so. Okay, now this looks creepy, but It's gonna look better in a minute. So we're just gonna put this in the microwave for like about 10 seconds, okay? Okay, see? Much better, right? Okay, now, so you want to just mix that around, but try not to mix air into it because you don't really want these bubbles to form onto your bubble. You want it to have a smooth surface. So you can even like drop it around a little bit. Try to get some of those air bubbles to come up to the surface and pop. And then you don't want too much pink because it'll become opaque, and also, you know, bubblegum bubbles are like a really light, pretty pink, not a really deep, dark pink. So you just want to do a drop or less of this. And again, this is the airbrush color. It has a lot of water in it. So if you're using like a paste color and it's more concentrated, you may need to play around with it because you might need even less of the color. Okay? And then just like to add a little bit, just eyeball it, a little bit of the pearl dust, and then you're going to need to put a little bit of shortening, not too much because it won't stick, your bubble won't stick, but you want to add a little bit of shortening so that the balloon will come apart from your finished gelatin bubble, but don't add too much because then the gelatin won't actually stick to the balloon. Okay? Alright, and then once you're ready, you can go ahead and mix it gently again because you don't want to whip air into it. And you'll see it makes a nice, you can see shimmery bubblegum kind of pink. Alright, and then once you have your color all incorporated, you can go ahead and start covering your balloon. Now you want to do about three or four coats of gelatin. So in between each coat, we're going to set it up and let it dry underneath our fan here. Okay? Now you can just dip this in and kind of roll it around, but I also like to use a paintbrush because I feel like it helps get a more even finish on the balloon. But you want to make sure you take it all the way to the end. It only takes a few minutes of drying in between each coat, but if you feel like your gelatin in your bowl is getting kind of hard, it probably is, in which case you will want to put it back in the microwave for like 10 seconds at a time. It's gonna be a little messy. Don't worry about that. Just try to make sure it's not like gunking up in any areas, which is why the paintbrush comes in handy. So you want to use a combination of the dipping and the painting to get it to where you want it to be. For you guys is if you are doing this for a cake, you want to make sure that you have a couple extra, especially with something so like fragile and probably a new technique that you're trying, because a lot of times it doesn't work out like you planned, or you may have one that comes out a little better than the other, and you want to just have some options for yourself. Okay.